Alrighty, am I here?
Let's see. Yep, you are here. Um, I'm gonna make you the main picture because TikTok. Uh, I'm leaving, buddy. TikTok gets very angry if you attempt to, understandably and for good reason, if you attempt to live while in a moving vehicle.
Oh, for real? I didn't even know they paid
Yeah,
attention to that.
I was doing one where I wasn't like it was just literally using my camera feed to like show the drive, and I was just talking to people about the Cosmere, and like an hour in, all of a sudden I get booted off, and it's like you've received a red flag on your account for dangerous behavior. I'm like,
Oh
oh
shoot!
no,
Oh
this was
no!
not this was not the point at all. Like
You're like, no, TikTok, I promise.
it's not. It's just we're just chilling. We're just talking to people. What is happening?
That's funny.
So yeah, my suspicion is that the camera caught like a police like light siren or something. The flashing lights. Somebody had
Hmm.
gotten pulled over, and that was like what triggered some systems. I don't. Who knows? Who knows what's
Sure.
algorithm and what's person nowadays?
Yeah.
It's like. Ugh. I'm intrigued. What was the second thing about Vin? The first is, in my assumption, the earring.
The
What was the
second would
second
just be
thing you were
the
thinking
purity of
about?
her blood,
Oh, sure. That's fair.
just because she has a a much less diluted bloodline,
Yes,
so
that,
her power would
and that's like,
be marginally more powerful than the average misting. But like, it wouldn't at that point in time, it wouldn't be that big of a difference, just a
yeah,
slight advantage, which is why she can like even Kelsier mentions she can push harder than she should be able to, right? For her weight.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's that's the earring is such a fun thing to watch on a reread. One of my
It
favorite
is,
moments is
yeah.
when Kelsier is like, "Oh, Vin, you should actually wear that earring more often." It's like, no, stop it.
Do you think? No, probably not, right? I was gonna say, do you think that that could have been Ruin influencing Kelsier into telling her to do that?
The only way in which it could have been would have been like a super 4D chess move if his Gethemel or whatever that guy's name was like, you should definitely keep metal inside your body because it's harder to push when it's inside your body. And
Yeah,
Ruin was like, yes, eventually one day Kelsier will have access. Because I mean, that has to have been some portion of like Ruin setting all these chess pieces into
right.
place. Is I need the Lord Ruler overthrown. This little girl with a spike in her, maybe she's the way.
Well, and
Um,
Ruin as a shard. Oh, hey, Zach's here. Zach, you want to jump in? Um, but as a shard, Ruin would have, to some extent, a similar ability as Odium to be able to glimpse fortune to get an idea of the future. Maybe not quite as
mhm.
good as it as Odium is, but just due to that, he might have been able to see a possibility of Vin, and then kind of like 40 chess kind of planned that move. I could see it happening.
Yeah. My assumption is he's also just trying to spike every Mistborn he can get his hands on, right?
That's true too.
Um,
That's a good
it's
point
kind
too.
of
Yeah.
shocking Kelsier didn't end up spiked. Um,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, because he kind of you'd think Kelsier would have been a perfect tool for Ruin. I mean,
yeah.
Kelsier's got that he's got that Ruin mentality in him a little bit, so
Oh, yeah, just a little bit of
just a
destruction.
tad, just a little bit.
Man. Zach and I were actually talking last night. Speaking of Ruin, because I keep thinking with Scadrial, we keep seeing in the future how many like installations and planet faring
Yeah.
things that they're doing. what is the chance that somewhere between or around era 3 or 4, or sorry, now it's 4 or 5, that's going to take some getting used to again. Were you,
Yeah,
as a quick tangential side note, were you around for the having to shift from talking about space as era 3? Were you reading at that time?
I I don't remember. I probably was reading at the time, but I probably wasn't active in the community at the time.
Sure. But I remember now having lived through, I sound like an old man on my lawn, but I remember living through all right, space era is going to be era 3. Oh, he's written an era 2 that isn't the real era 2. Okay, maybe
Right,
that's
because
2.5, 1.5. Nope.
let's
Okay,
see.
officially space is era 4 now. Oh, and now C2E2. Sounds like we're switching to era 5 for space fair. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Zach, if you wanted, you could do the same thing CJ's doing and jump in and just be voice. Jason says, "Did you guys see the readings Anderson did at C2E2? Are you talking about the Shalon chapters? Because if so, yes, and spicy.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it was it was
are we going to
amazing to
Nexus?
see
Yeah, I think
things.
CJ, you're going to Nexus, right?
Yes, I will
Yeah.
absolutely be at Nexus, and I loved Shallan's chapters. I've loved all the preview chapters he's read. The one that has me most in my feels is still Zeth's flashbacks. Though that's just going to have a grip on my heart for years to
Oh
come, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. You were totally right. That one line where he says, "Zeph, what was it? Zeph found music on the wind, and so he danced to it."
Right? It's
That's an
just
awesome
to
line.
compare that to his first line of "wore white on the day he was to kill a king." It's just, oh,
Yeah, no, it's potent. I'm excited for Zeth's flashbacks. I am a Zeth stan.
I love Seth. Absolutely love him. Also, I'm voting. Oh yes, yeah, Jason, I agree with you. That is still blowing my mind a little bit. The location of Bado Mishram in
Yeah, in
theory.
the spiritual realm. That is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I thought the spiritual realm was a place that you could not physically go, which I guess, according to like what Pattern was saying, still may or may not be the case. Sounds like there's going to be some funky Sandersonian stuff going on in order for them to get there.
Well, and that's I'm wondering, like, is because I think Joshua Jafu was saying on one of the discords that there's theorizing or stating somewhere that the visions that Dalinar does take
There,
place,
yeah, yeah,
quote
yeah. I'm
unquote,
pretty sure that's
in the
confirmed.
spiritual realm. And
Yeah,
so that's really interesting because that would imply they'll have to leave their bodies behind and
yeah.
someone will have to guard
That's
their
what I'm
bodies.
curious about. But
I
if
mean, I
that's
guess
the
they could physically
case,
go
how do
there,
you
but
hide? Yeah, how do you hide a gemstone in a place where you can't physically go? So there must be some way to
is she
physically be there.
is she in a gemstone? Like we've always assumed that because that's what you did to the thrill. That's the
Well,
wording
that's
that's used. But maybe the spiritual realm is like a metaphor for
no,
a
that's what
gemstone,
Collect
right?
said in the Shalon chapters. Collect said that they crafted a perfect Heliodor.
I'll have to go back and read it. That again, I'm always suspicious of anything Sanderson tells us in part one of a book because I'm like,
I
all right,
do
that's
agree
what we
with you,
think is the case.
but where Collect said I was with them when they crafted a perfect Heliodor and I went with them on the mission, like when
Yeah, that's
he's
fair.
saying
That's fair.
I was
Okay.
physically there, it seems a lot more trustworthy.
Yeah, I'm also probably in the camp of I don't think they're actually going to go back with this group of Windrunners to Dalinar. That feels like the kind of plan that then gets subverted, right? Like, oh yeah, we're supposed to go back to Dalinar. Oh, but it'd be much more interesting if we went, somewhere. Who knows where? Um, you've read the Skyward series, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, like, my favorite example of Brandon just pulling the rug out from people in terms of the kind of book that we think we're gonna read is in the second one when it's like, all right, Spence is going to go to spy school, and she's going to learn how to be a spy. Crash land. Nope, I got to leave now. Bye, guys. And it's like, oh, that
Jason,
that
so
was
maybe
like,
Dalinar can get Shalon to converge. Oh yeah, I mean it would have to be either Dalinar or Navani, right? Because they'd have to open a perpendicularity. Either that or go all the way up to the Horneater Peaks, which actually I could also see that happening because Brandon knows that the fans want more Rock, right? We want to know what happened to Rock. So maybe by going up to the Horneater Peaks, we could get some closure with Rock.
but now I'm thinking from like a realmatic physics perspective. If a perpendicularity in the physical realm gets you into the cognitive realm, I feel like you need something different mechanically to get you into quote unquote the spiritual realm, right? Like,
I don't know that that's necessarily
weird.
the case, because a perpendicularity is a point of such concentrated investiture that all three realms become one. Like that's how
I agree
Dalinar,
with you.
because he can
Yeah,
refill Stormlight using it. So maybe it's just a means of like, if you just casually step through, you get to the cognitive realm, but you have to like intentionally step through to get to the spiritual realm. Maybe.
yeah,
Maybe it takes more
maybe,
energy to get there. I don't know. I'm just
one
talking
thing
off my
that's
head.
interesting. Oh, I'm with you. Maybe if you go into Shadesmar and then open a perpendicularity as Dalinar, something different happens. I don't know. Like that gets.
Ooh,
I just.
maybe,
It feels
yeah.
like there should be something different mechanically to make that kind of a jump.
I'm
But
a
I
little
also
confused
don't.
about it because like we've been told that the spiritual realm, all things exist as investiture, right? So what happens when a physical person goes
Yeah.
there? That's what I'm confused about. So, yeah, I don't know. But I'm excited to find out. What
Jason
I'm
said, "Why does Kelsier want Bam Bottomishram?"
So, I do have kind of a theory about that, right? So we
Oh, is
know
it
that
connection related?
maybe because clearly Biodo
Okay.
Mishram had some power over bonds, right? She could bond with the
Mm-hmm.
Parshendi and give them forms of power. We also know that prior to Biodo Mishram's binding, Deadeye Spren didn't exist. Um,
Yeah.
and when the Recreants happened, the Radiants and their Spren thought that they were just going to like break the oaths. They didn't know that Deadeye was going to happen. So the result of Biodo Mishram being captured resulted in now when the Radiant breaks their oaths, their Spren becomes dead-eyed. So somehow Biodo Mishram was integrally involved somehow in Spren bonds, which doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense since she's an agent of Odium. But
Well, but it's not
she
just
was
Spren bonds, right?
so
It's deeper
yeah,
because
it
it
is
was the
deeper because
singers as well. Yeah.
they when she was captured, that's what created Dolform. Before that, Dolform wasn't really a thing, I don't think. And so
No, there was.
I think
No, I agree. Yeah.
somehow her ability to invest so deeply into the planet and affect bonds on such a deep level, I think Kelsier wants to manipulate that somehow. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how, but
Well, I
so that
mean,
doesn't
get the
really answer the
gemstone.
question, Jason. We don't really know why, but I think that's a hint.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to take it the next step, I would say get the gemstone that has her in it, bring it to Scadrial, because presumably that perfect gemstone makes it so that you're insulated from the tension effects that
Oh, you
normally
think?
affect Spren. I'm
Hmm.
guessing
I
it's
didn't
all,
even think about
but
that, but
then
maybe.
and then use whatever she does to allow, because I think his big thing is I want to be able to actually leave Scadrial so I can go do things in the universe that need to be done.
I think his
Um,
thing is I want to be able to have a body. I want to be able to leave the cognitive realm.
well, he has a body, right? He's the sovereign. He just
Well,
can't leave Scadrial.
he's stapled to a dead body. Well, I don't even know if it's dead, but he's stapled to a body.
And I
Like
think, I mean, I don't
he
know.
doesn't
I
have
think
a
that's the
true
best you can get in
body.
the Cosmere. That's the best you can get in the
I mean,
Cosmere, isn't it?
as far as we know, but I think Kelsier wants
Yeah.
something better. I think that's what he's hunting for,
I
is something
want
better.
more. I need like a Little Mermaid mashup where he's like, I've got a body that's stapled to a spirit. Ugh. Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm glad we're doing it this way. I almost would even love someday to do a read through of Mistborn where you splice in the secret history parts that correspond to each book. Like you read your
That'd be
Final
cool.
Empire, and then you read the portion of which is not a lot of it, but the portion of secret history that leads up to the end of the Final Empire, Well of Ascension, etc. To just get that parallel of like, okay, because it's also fantastic. You know, the
Oh,
discussion about, well, is the survivor out there watching over us and all this stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, watch. That's so
Um,
great.
what I don't know. I think it would be really cool for somebody to be able to like splice together an entirely whatever you call it, like an entirely chronological order Cosmere read through. Like chapter by chapter,
Yeah.
every book. But man, that would be a headache to keep track of all the different plot lines.
Yes. 100%. Not least of which, because I think that we are about to have revelations about time dilation in the next few
Ooh,
years
probably. I could
as
see
he
that.
finalizes the timeline. Well,
Yeah.
like
I could even
Benny
see
McBenny or
the
whatever.
spiritual realm.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Ben. I love Ben.
yeah. Well, I had made a comment about timeline or something, and he was like, "Yeah, that time dilation can really mess you up." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what?" So I'm on the right track with some of this, because
I have
I mean,
no jealousy for Karen and the amount of work she's going to have to put in to make that timeline work.
they showed pieces of the wiki at JordanCon, and it is always just amazing.
Oh, did they actually show it? Show it? Because I've I've met
Yeah,
Karen a couple
just a
times, and
chunk. It was
I've
like just a
she's
page, right?
yeah. So when
A
she
heavily
came to
redacted
the
safe page.
she came to the Secret Project 4 release party that we held in Provo.
Yeah.
And so we got to kind of sit and chat with her, and Peter and Ben was there, and so she kind of pulled it up and she showed us a few of she showed a few of us her little internal wiki she has on her phone, and she doesn't care quite as much about the like lore. So for you like asking Karen questions about lore and stuff doesn't really you don't get a lot of answers, but
Yes.
timeline, that's her big thing. Timeline and character description.
I did appreciate that there was a point where she said she went to like Evgeny and the other arcanists, and that she was like, "Okay, I need you to explain X to me and like give me
Yeah,
examples of how this magic system works, so that I can then like properly craft this wiki, this portion of it." But then she also shared hilariously a little anecdote where Brandon went to her and was like, "Hey, I need you to tell me the names of all the fused and what their powers are.
right.
Like, just
And
give me a list."
I've talked to somebody about this, a friend of mine here in Idaho, and they were actually saying how they think that makes Brandon a bad writer because he can't keep track of all of this on his own, and he should know all. And I'm like, do you realize how big the Cosmere is? I think if anything, it makes him a better writer to be able to have those resources and be able to delegate enough so that he guarantees that he's not going to mess anything up. There's not going to be any major plot holes, and he can focus on writing a good story, and the nitty gritty of it, he can delegate to other teams and make sure that it all works. If you're talking CJ, you were totally silent.
Yeah, I don't know if it showed me as disappearing for a second or not. I have like a little reminder from TikTok every now and then that'll pop up to be like, "Hey, here's how many, like, you've spent a total of an hour on TikTok today. Are you sure you want to make these decisions with your life?" Um, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4,
I
and it says
did
cool, have
disable
fun.
those.
I had them disabled for a long time, and then I don't remember when, but I turned it on, and I was like, it's just good to have the reminder of like, how much am I actually on here? And it's gone down a lot. Like I don't, it's been less, but it's helpful. Little, one of those tools.
Yeah.
Now, I saw that you were playing Fallout. Have you seen the show yet?
I have. Yeah. So actually, I had never played or watched anything
Oh
Fallout
wow,
at
yeah.
all, and then I
Okay.
got the Fallout Magic deck. You know how Magic the Gathering did a
Oh
Fallout
yeah. Uh
crossover.
huh.
So I got one of those decks and I started playing with those cards, and
Yeah.
I was like, these are some cool cards and cool characters, and so that inspired me to play the game.
Yes.
So I'm about halfway through my first playthrough of Fallout 4, and then yeah, we watched the show,
Sick.
and me and my wife both very much loved it.
Yeah, I'm watching with some friends, and we are going at a glacial pace. We've only watched the first episode so far, but it was, I'm sure it's not technically maybe a 10 out of 10, but in my mind, it is like a 10 out of 10. It is set out to perfectly accomplish or it has perfectly accomplished what it set out to accomplish.
Hmm.
And you
I
can't
love
you
how
can't ask
high
much more of
fidelity
a show.
they were with like the visuals and stuff. Everything looks
Uh-huh.
pristine of how it looks in the game.
Absolutely.
Jason, I like your comment. You said, I asked Anderson a few questions at C2E2, how many BEOs in Shard Plate. He hasn't done the math. Yeah, that type of question, Brandon will almost never have a solid answer for. That type of question would be more for Afghani or sometimes, oh, what's his name? The visual guy.
Isaac
Oh,
Stewart?
why am, yeah, Isaac Stewart. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, Brandon will have answers for that sometimes, but usually those nitty gritty type things where you're talking like real specific magic stuff, that's Brandon tends to focus less on that and focus more on the story. Um, Now, like if you're talking like interactions between magic, that's Brandon. Like if you're talking like,
Yes.
hey, what would happen if Nightblood was turned into a hemalurgic spike? That's a Brandon question. Which I don't even want to contemplate the answer to that question. I regret it coming out of my mouth already because that's
Who's,
horrifying.
who's, yeah. Now, Zach, you said who's dying in book 5, but there was a TikTok where somebody did ask him basically like, will you emotionally destroy me, or will this
I
book
saw
emotionally
that, yeah.
destroy me, or something?
And
And
he
he
said
just like he
Rapho.
did the Brandon sly little smile and hands he is so snarky. He is just so delightfully cheesy in a wonderful way.
I love how giddy he gets.
Yes, especially I don't know if you saw on the Wob, but Luce there in Telescope got to ask his question in person and finish his question about the final shard's name
Oh yeah?
that he had
I
tried to
didn't see
ask
that.
all the way back at whatever was in December when we all were watching. I guess it was the year of Sanderson question and answer or whatever,
Mm.
maybe. But anyway, he got to finally finish it and basically got the confirmation you're thinking along the right lines, which is like wisdom-ish, like something about intellect, wisdom stuff, and we are going to get it in Wind and Truth. Like we will know all 16
Oh,
original shards of
that's
Adamalcium.
fun.
Sorry, I didn't say it. So the original question he was trying to say was, Wit, at the end of Way of Kings, lists off 3 attributes that are valued, right, before he goes on to novelty. And 2 of those 3 have gone on to be revealed to be shards of Adamalcium. And so the logic is, the third one is probably also a shard of Adamalcium.
What was the third one?
So, it is
I don't
Um,
remember it. Is this when he's describing like what art is valued? You disappeared again, CJ. Still gone.
Interesting. So apparently it doesn't
Okay, you're
like when I
back.
bop away. Apparently it doesn't like when I bop
You're gone again.
away from this. Yeah, sorry, I will not do that again. It's like there's artistry is one of them. Um, gosh, intellect, artistry. I don't
Are
know.
we saying that artistry
Trying to.
was virtuosity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, when Zach says he's here, does he mean he wants to come in, or I know he's here. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, Zach, are you wanting to join?
try to. Oh, there we go.
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
I would like to
Yeah.
try. Zach!
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I
I'm
hope I
going
didn't
to
leave you
try
hanging
something
too
really
long.
quick. You're good. I'm going
Yeah.
to see if I can do something so I can continue to work but also be on here.
Okay. Are you at work right now?
He
Yes,
has
can you hear
been.
me now?
Yes.
Okay, so if I pop away from the screen, it cuts me out. But if I go back on the screen, I can talk. So I'm.
Nice. One of these days soon, I want y'all to play the Roshar Jeopardy game that I created.
Yeah, no, I want
I
to.
think that would be quite fun.
I
That sounds
agree.
like a lot of fun.
I figured out with TikTok Live Studio that I can run it streaming it that way, and it works pretty well. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think probably it would run on the too easy side for y'all, but at least it'd be an ego boost, and then a fight to see who can get their buzzer in first, kind of situation.
I always
Um,
love the like the oh, what do you call that? The games on the screen that they play at the conventions.
oh, Kahoot!
Yeah, the Kahoot games they do. Because like for half the time, it is kind of like ego boost because sometimes I'm like, oh man, this is so unfair, all these noobs, and then they pull out some like bonkers questions about like the interaction between magic stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm humbled. I was feeling too proud.
Well, let me tell you this: if you ever go to JordanCon and you want to feel humbled, go to the Cosmere trivia that they run.
At
There are
JordanCon?
7 at JordanCon, and when I say they run it, like Karen is there with the wiki as like the main like guiding post as to what the quote unquote correct answers are. Another team, like the team has created it. There are 70 possible points. I walked away with my team of 4 people who all are like pretty good Cosmere theorists and like read the whole thing multiple times, etc. We walked away with a total of 4 points.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds like fun.
It was a lot.
I want to do
mean, it
because like
ranged.
I really want to nail in my knowledge, so I want to do that and like really know what I'm not aware of.
And some
It would
of
be a
them,
double-edged
like,
sword.
it was a very like naming intense trivia. So like some of them were, what is the second highest rank, or what is the rank below Bjorn in the Dorethi Church?
Okay, yeah, that's
And
hard.
I'm like, oh,
It's really hard.
I know that there is one.
It's Bjorn, and then Eightfen, I think.
Yeah,
It
I
was
don't know.
something different. It was like a W or something. Or it was like probably mentioned once, and but it's that kind of thing. Where, or one of the first ones that should have been a softball, but I messed it up because I didn't trust my gut. Was what is the pole stone, or what order has diamonds as the pole stone? And it's
That's got
edge
it. Is it
dancers.
Skybreaker? Oh, it's Edge Dancer.
Now,
See, yep.
Skybreakers have, right? And that's what we said after I said Edge Dancers. They were like, no, Edge Dancers Emerald. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. Health, Emerald, whatever. Yeah, so I mean, it was just, they were very, and the one that even killed, like Evgeny and Joshua, and two other 17th Sharders ended up winning with like 40 points or 38 or something like that. Again, out of a possible 70 potential points. But the one that even killed them was name the 5 cups that Tress sends to Charlie, and the order in which she receives them.
Yep,
And
I wouldn't get
describe
that.
2 attributes with them. It's like, oh my gosh.
One is iron and has butterflies. After that, I'm out.
Well, the best part was it was a bit of a trick question because they included the last one, which comes as like a pile of pieces of cup. It's like, it's brutal.
That's
But did they ask like what it was made of, or if they could make out the design?
I think it was narrated in their maybe ceramic or something, whatever the pieces were made of. Yeah, you were supposed to say probably that it's in pieces and then what the pieces resemble or something like that. Yeah, it was apparently one year they always do like a middle round question where it's list a bunch of things. So this year it was list every, and you get a point for every one you get right, but list every inhabitant of the good guys group. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, from Sunlit Man. So Adonalcium will remember our plight eventually was one I remembered.
Oh, like
and
all
we got
of
a
the
couple of
character
points
names?
from that. Exactly, yeah. Like for every one you remembered, you got a point, but you had to list all of the Threnodite names that are just like, Jeffrey is one of them, and yeah, just a lot. It's just a lot.
I don't start remembering names until my second read through.
I'm the same way.
I don't.
Yep.
I remember some names, but if you're not like an important character, I remember who you are, and then that's about it.
I would remember the Adonalcium one just because it's so bonkers.
That
Yes,
one, Jeffrey. I remember Jeffrey. I remember, was there Serenity?
There was Elegy,
Yes,
which
Serenity
was the sister.
was one of them.
Elegy, yeah. That's pretty much all I got off the top of my head.
That's what I'm saying. And then there's like Constance or Temperance or something from among the lady
Constance,
elder people.
So who's dying in Stormlight 5?
Oh,
I think Kaladin is too obvious of an answer, so I don't think Brandon will do it.
I'm so scared it's going to be Adolin.
Oh, I don't want it to be. I'd rather it be Kaladin than Adolin.
Same.
To be honest.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I don't think it'll be Kaladin just because they'd spent so much time with him facing this depression and what could happen that if he dies now, it would feel cheap.
Mm-hmm. Although there's Ammon's theory that somehow Kaladin will become the Stormfather.
That's interesting.
that
that's
Kaladin would become the Stormfather.
Yeah, that's Ammon's theory. ADHD projects.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I would
It would
definitely
be
have to think
weird.
about that. Uh-huh.
Because it would mean that the original Stormfather has to be destroyed.
I
Yeah,
mean,
cool.
So, somebody on Reddit proposed a theory. What do you guys think? How much sentience and spiritual identity do
Thank you, buddy.
Spren have? Could a very powerful Spren take up a shard?
Thank you. It would have to be really powerful.
Do you think the
so
Stormfather is powerful enough? Because the Stormfather is already imprinted with Tanavast's cognitive identity, pretty
cognitive
much.
shadow, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're blended, right? Like they're, yeah. I mean, I think Zeth is the best example towards that because, I mean, Vasher describes him as being similar to a returned, aka cognitive shadow, aka just like
Right.
a step above a Spren. So it's like you just need a little bit more to get there.
I wonder, could it go the other way? Could a human become, like, we know they can come in cognitive shadow, but, like, could Tanavad have become, it's not his, like, essence on the Stormfather, but he is the Stormfather?
See, I
A
think
lot of
that
people think
the
that's very
Stormfather
possible.
is Tanavast in the same way a returned is the person they were before. Because
Okay.
I'm in the group of people that think that a returned is not the same person as they were when they were alive, but it's just a cognitive shadow of themselves.
Well, it's
Kelsey
like
out here stealing
it's the
bodies.
it's the Star Trek transporter problem paradox, right? Like
It
if we
kind
disassemble
of
you
is that, yeah.
and then reassemble you, are you still you? Are you an exact copy of you? That and then is there a difference between an exact copy of you with every experience you had up to that point and you?
How long does it take before you are no longer you? Because, like, if we
The
look at
Theseus type
Vasher,
thing.
like, who Vasher was before he was a returned was a lot less of that body's lifespan than what Vasher is now. Vasher's been around for at least 100 years,
Right. So
probably more.
I'm of the group that I think that the Vasher we know is not the same spiritual identity as the alive Vasher, but is his own self. And he it's not to say that he's any less real than alive Vasher was, just like a different soul, for lack of a better term.
Okay. I wonder if it's I wonder if it's almost like the Harry Potter ghost thing, where it's like they died and they could have gone on, but they chose not to, and because they chose not to, they come back less than they were, and that's why they
See,
lose so much. And they're the same person, but they're also not.
yeah, that's basically what other people think. I'm not in that group, but I'm kind of open to either one.
I'm dreading getting to Warbreaker in the book club. That's one
Why is
that
that?
I find it so boring, and like I know
Really?
there's a lot there. My favorite
I
character,
love
Nightblood,
Warbreaker.
is in that one. And like at times it just like I'm not trying to like, yuck your yum or anything, but at times to me I think it's just the breath magic system I have a hard time understanding. So like at times when it's going
Breath is a little
into
messy.
like when you start getting into the magic of it, I feel like I'm reading a textbook and it kind of takes me out of it. Like I love the Shiri and Susabrod stuff. And I
Hmm.
even love the Vivenna stuff, but I have a very hard time when it's like going deep into the magic. And I'm just like I feel like I already have a notebook, but I feel like I have to have a second notebook just to keep track of the magic sometimes.
That's funny.
And then it
See,
like
I actually
kind
that's
of
actually
bums me out
part of
more
why I
that
like it. I
as we
like
get
the textbook feel.
You do.
I do, yeah. But
And
sorry,
then
keep
like
going.
the other part of me is like, I really need to get a handle on this because it's moving to BEUs, like we saw in the Sunlit Man, where it's like,
Right.
oh, all of the magic in the Cosmere is now going to be measured against breath. I need to get a handle of this.
Hey, does Callum want this?
But I'm excited. I'm really excited to get to Secret History with all the
Oh yeah.
newbies in the Discord who are just like making amazing predictions that I never did and just making
Dude,
me
I
feel dumb.
know. I sometimes when I have like when I invite friends to read the Cosmere or whatever, one of my friends, Soraya, she's in the book club Discord. She was reading things and like she predicted pretty much like the end of Mistborn Era 1
Want me to grab
by the
something?
end of book 1. I don't even remember what connections she made, but I was just like, am I stupid? How did I miss this?
Right.
Upstairs to our room.
That was that was my thoughts
Downstairs
too,
is fine.
because I'm like, they were making connections with Mist Wraiths and Khandra, and I'm like, I didn't even think about that. But then earlier, I was on the Discord, and they were like, well, you were also 20 when you read it, so maybe cut yourself some slack.
This is true. I also read it, but then again, I was going to say I read Mistborn Era 1 first, but so did a lot of these people.
Well, most of them are started with Elantris,
Yeah.
which that's another one that I don't think was like, I wanted to do it chronologically, but also I'm like, this is kind of a bad introduction to the Cosmere because this is not like any of his
Elantris
other
is
stuff.
hard. Yeah.
In yeah, the positive is everybody's more or less committed to reading through, and you get to start with White Sand and Elantris, and then it's just all uphill from there. Like
That's true.
I
It only
can't think
gets
of
better from
anything
here.
that's worse.
Literally only gets better.
What was your guys' favorite secret project?
Yumi. Easy.
Same.
Yeah, I would agree.
That was. It was just so different. I loved it.
I love both Yumi and Painter, which is actually kind of funny because I actually really couldn't find myself getting into it for the first like third of the book. I was kind of bored through it, and then something just changed and it just grabbed me. And by the end of it, I was like, this is my favorite Sanderson book, period.
Yeah. I don't. I think my favorite Sanderson book that that changes every week. But Oathbringer is always up at the top. That's always going to
Oathbringer's
be one of my
good.
favorites.
For a long time, I think mine goes back and forth between The Way of Kings, Oathbringer, and Yumi. I think those three are my
Yeah,
favorite.
that's that's fair. Um, I like how interesting just the magic system is for Yumi and the Nightmare Painter because like the magic system is just trying to impress almost. I don't know if they would be considered sprint because like Aeons are sprint adjacent. Like
I'd call them Spren.
Seance?
No, the
yeah,
spirits on
on Yumi's planet.
I'd call Sions, Skaz, and the spirits on Yumi's planet. I'd call them all Spren, just manifested differently due to different magic
Right.
systems.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong,
Um,
but that's how my brain
but
thinks
yeah,
about it.
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of how
mean,
I always thought about it too.
yeah, I think you even can toss like Vasher and Kelsier as capital S Spren onto that list, right? Like they're just different kinds of invested entities with sapience.
Yeah, then we get into Vasher's classifications of the types of invested entities, right? And so we have like
Yeah.
his what was his type 1? Was that Spren?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Before he
Type 1
met
is,
things like Syl, he thought he was a type 1. And then he's like, oh, I guess I'm type 2.
yeah.
yeah,
I want to go back through that and actually like try to make my own classifications, and I'll throw it in the Discord and see what y'all think.
Yeah.
that definitely. I think it's really interesting. Hey, I'm going to have to hop off for just 1 second because I have to call these people, and
Okay.
then I'll come back on and you guys can re-add me.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess in order to have certain aspects of live, you have to meet certain criteria, not just have live access.
Yeah, it's a whole weird tiered system.
TikTok's thing is really weird because like some people get different um, features at different levels. Like, didn't you say you got live access at like 800 followers?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, 700 or 800. It just popped up one day. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, cool.
and I didn't get mine until right at 1,000. So I don't know. I can't. I have no idea what the criteria is or how the algorithm tracks it.
Yeah, who knows? And then there's a different system to go live on your computer, the live
Yeah,
studio. Like that's its own
which
other beast.
I think you have to have, what
Um,
is it, like 5,000 for that?
no, like you can just check to see when it popped. Like for me, it was the third option for going live now. Like there's live gaming, and then studio or whatever. Um, and when you try to go live, the third one will be live studio, and you can like request access, and then they'll give you. It's real weird. They'll give you like a 7-day pass, and then you have to go live like twice for 30 minutes in those 7 days, and then after that it'll be like right now I've got 180 days access, and it's just like, what is this silliness of
Interesting.
how they're doing things? Yeah. Oh, Stephanie, are you here? Is that you? I don't know how long ago that was.
I see Nathaniel Ferguson joined. I see
Yeah. Triple Oz.
All
I
right, guys.
still continue. Hey.
user 614679129
Hey,
seven.
Steve. How you doing,
Hey,
Steve?
Steve.
Hey, bud.
Steve, you want to jump on and talk, or you want to hang out in the chat?
Just popping in like popcorn.
Oh boy. Uh,
Beautiful. We won't tell
rehearsal.
anyone. We promise. Oh man, that is funny. Um, let's see.
Okay, so have you guys seen? Well, I'm sure you have. You've seen his Sanderson's lives. You know the big Roshar map behind him made out of Lego.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
want to do
Yeah.
that with Scadria.
Oh, that'd be
Nice.
fun. That'd be very fun.
Which version of Scadrial? Pre Catasandra or post Catasandra?
It's a good question.
Right?
I think do we have a flushed out map for post Catasandra?
I think it's either coming or there's a very good, like a good portion of it is in the Era 2 books
Yeah, let me
somewhere.
look and see.
Yeah, because we haven't seen. I think it just shows Because it doesn't show the Melwish people, right? Like we just have Elendel, and then in the third book it goes, or in Lost Metal it expands, doesn't it?
I'm looking at Lost Metal right now to see what's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh well, there's okay. So here, that's what we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got the Shrouded Isles, the Southern Isles, the Elendil Basin, the Malwish Continent or Consortium, and the Maskless. So yeah, it's pretty much everything.
So far.
Everything
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
been
That's
It's a
discovered, I think.
very it's a very almost North America, South America going on there
Yeah, because we've got
feel
this
to
is
it.
the what did I say? The Malwish Consortium, and then the Maskless Isle down here. So I think down here would basically be the equivalent of like their South Pole, right?
yeah. How big is the
Tentatively,
planet? Because Elendel would be, well, no, because he could have moved it. I was going to say because in the first
Gadriel
book,
is relatively small planet-wise, isn't it? Am I mistaken?
I thought it was the
it's
most earthy of the planets. Like default assumption is it's like Earth, is what I've always kind of felt it to
Is
be.
it like 1.0 gravity or something?
I, that's how I've always understood people to talk about it. Like you have Earth-like creatures, you've Earth-like gravity. You know, um,
they
unlike
got
Roshar, where we're
lions.
going, oh, actually, these people are 1 year older than we think they are because blah blah blah. It's just a lot.
Yeah, because Roshar is like zero point 0.8 gravity, isn't it?
That sounds
Yeah,
right.
and also has a higher oxygen content. That's why they don't
Yeah.
do a lot of fires.
Oh, I knew it had a higher oxygen content. I never thought about the fire
Yep.
correlation there. That's kind of cool.
Um,
Yeah, it makes the Dustbringers even more terrifying.
I, as a
Sorry, the
Dustbringer,
releasers.
I am very. It's okay. That's an antiquated thing. We don't mind anymore. um, no, but as a Dustbringer, I am very excited to see some more on-screen Dustbringer reaction that
Yes.
hopefully we get some good guy Dustbringers and we actually see them in
Right.
action. Because
yeah,
as of right now, we pretty much only have bad guy Dustbringers.
I feel the same way about Will Shaper because we have Venli, and that's it.
She's
And
not.
like,
She's not a great representation.
yeah, Venli
Well,
kind of
Zach, I think you're
sucks.
about to get like 17,000 of them if the end of Rhythm of War is any indication.
That's you
Yeah,
might be right. Venli might have a whole Will Shaper crew on her hands.
yeah, where they're because like it also it breaks my heart because they don't want to talk to the humans. They just want the singers, which means I'll
Uh-huh.
never get a
Yeah.
spring.
Um. Well, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. I guess we do have the Reshi King as a good guy Dustbringer, but we haven't seen him do anything other than
Oh, sure.
Stormlight transition. That's it.
He
And
dropped
I'm
Risen off a mountain.
that was
This.
before he was a Dustbringer.
Well,
She did
he
that to
didn't.
herself, didn't she?
Yeah,
Jump.
I was like, he didn't do the dropping.
He
Uh,
facilitated it.
I'm firmly in the Shalash. Will be a Dustbringer camp. So there you go. That's one.
Yeah, I've heard that theory because she's book 8.
Question mark. I mean, Brandon
Yeah,
subject to
yeah,
swap any of them in any order.
but we know that her focus book, she has a focus book, and
Mm-hmm.
the only non-accounted for order is Dustbringer. So it has to be Dustbringer in her focus book, which means she must become a Dustbringer.
Oh, that's actually not where I go with it. I go Dalinar at the Battle of Thalen City says, "Oh, we should have every order represented here." why do we have only this many orders? But secretly, you have a will shaper who's unknown. You've got Taln, who is the embodiment of a stone ward. He absolutely needs a stone ward spren. And then you've got
Oh yeah.
Shalash, who's also there. And Dustbringer's the only
So
other order that isn't represented in that crew.
if Shalosh becomes a Dustbringer, do you think she would ever get back her honor blade, or would she just not even worry about that and just be pure Dustbringer?
Man, that presumes the honor blades are going to survive this book, which there is like a great chance that something weird happens to turn, because they're god metal, right? So like, and they're like super god metal. I would assume even more so than the shard blades, because the shard blades come from
Right.
Spren, but like the honor blades are chunks of honor cut off, and
Are the
Yeah.
honor
I
blades?
wouldn't.
I've actually wondered that. Are they pure honorium Tanavastium, or are they a hybrid like shard blades are?
I'm in the camp that they would be pure Tanavastium, if only
Yeah,
because it's the Oath Pact honor. I mean, they're even just called honor because they predate the Knights Radiant. So like cultivation maybe wasn't
Right.
even involved with them at that point.
See, that in theory could be true, but what I'm confused about, so there's 10 surges and they embody both honor and cultivation, and the heralds could use all 10 surges. So would that not mean that cultivation had to be involved somehow if it was the same 10 surges?
That's a fair point.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I
We
mean, I
just
guess the
we don't know
theory.
enough to have solid
Uh
answers.
huh. Yeah.
so when you eat a sword,
Hey
what
We don't have
Carl.
to eat the
is it
sword
when you
though,
eat?
right? We have. We just need Nightblood to start chunking pieces off of honor blades, and we can start swallowing them and see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
as a
Nightblood
god
chipped it,
metal,
didn't he?
yeah, he did. And as a
It
god
did.
metal, um, in theory, anybody could burn it. So
Yeah,
Yep. And
that was
thus
something
led
that
to
me
this.
and CJ were talking about yesterday. What do you
that
think
retcon.
Lorathium does when you burn it? Because you become a Mistborn as a side effect of burning it, but that's not its power.
I
So when you actually burn the like metal
That's
itself,
an
what do you
interesting
think it
question.
does?
I think if the lasting effect is you turn into a Mistborn, I imagine the main effect would simply be you connect yourself with preservation, probably.
Hmm.
But that doesn't feel, I don't know, that feels too meh of an answer.
I think its connection. I think
Maybe
it
maybe
hacks your
that's how
spirit by
Hoyd
being
gets
connected.
ferochemy.
But does
And
Hoyt have
that's why he can.
ferochemy? I thought that was confirmed that he doesn't.
That's how he can use
I mean, I could be wrong.
that. No, that tracks. Because that means if you get a beetle Erastium, you can also use that to hack your spirit web and use all forms of investiture, which we see Hoyd doing all the time. Does
That's
Hoyd have
see,
ferochemy?
I as
He
far
has
as we know,
fortune.
he does not. He does have some way of manipulating
Okay.
fortune, but we have no idea how he goes about doing it.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
agree with that assessment.
But yeah, so becoming a Mistborn is a side effect. That's such a powerful side effect that having any primary effect almost feels too overpowered, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
It's
I think it's like rewriting your spiritual DNA, comma, when a person on Scadrial does it, that makes you a Mistborn because it's giving you whatever you need in spiritual
Oh,
DNA to be
okay.
a Mistborn.
So could we say that maybe burning it increases whatever connection you have to whatever shard you're already connected to?
That'd be, yeah, something like that is
Because
where I would
every
be.
natural born Scadrian is inherently more connected to preservation than to ruin, so they could use that when they burn it, it connects them to preservation. So maybe a Rosharan burning it, it would connect them more to honor, cultivation, or odium, one of the three, maybe.
I can see that.
I'm literally
Zach and I were
spitballing
talking
here.
last night. Zach and I were talking last night about the benefits of shaving off your Lerasium to get the minimal effect of a Mistborn, right? Not like the super powerful Elend Mistborn that comes from a full bead, but like when Lost Metal shows, you can have just a little bit of it and become a little bit of a Mistborn. And then it's
Oh my
like,
gosh, I
okay, well,
forgot
how
about that.
much?
Right. Because Wax doesn't, yeah, that's right, because Wax isn't like full powered, right? He's just barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Oh, I forgot about that. So what would happen if you burned 2 beads of Lerasium?
I think you become
3, 4,
super
5.
connected, right? Yeah. Now,
That's
I guess
crazy
in
to think
theory there's
about.
an upper limit, but um,
I would hope there would be. Oh, my wife and kid just got home from their adventure, so I'm gonna bounce.
All right. Talk to you
perfect
later, bud.
timing. I'm getting mine
Okay,
dressed for bed, so
good
I'll hop
chat.
off as
Bye,
well.
guys.
Later,
See ya.
guys.
Callum, are you ready to get dressed for bed? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm also getting dressed for bed.
See you, everybody.